Hello, I'm meteorologist Rob Carlmark here with an update on Friday for your weather impact alert. Now, everything's still intact, and I think what's important to know is that, sometimes when you have these big weather events, of which this is a couple days of record heat, sometimes leading up to it, the forecast starts to wane a little bit, things start to fall apart, and it's just not going to be as bad as advertised. This is not the case. Everything is exactly in line with what we were thinking several days ago and even a week ago. We knew we were looking at a big heat wave with triple digits, but as far as getting close to records and even close to all-time records, that's still happening. Hot days, warm nights. This is going to be one of the all-time May heat waves for sure. And when you take a look at how long it's been since we've been to these numbers, it's really quite remarkable, but we'll get to that. We've got time. Okay, so what are we really looking at? Today and tomorrow, extreme heat for any time of the year, let alone in the final days in May. So obviously heat safety is your number one concern, but what's different about this is that there's things that are happening right now that are not happening when you typically see temperatures like this. For example, if this were to happen in July, you have many months of the waters warming up, and that's what we don't have. I mean, the stuff that's flowing through creeks and streams, especially up high, is brand new snowmelt. So it's cold, it's running fast. So there's extra precautions that we're all paying attention to. Going back in the books, we hit 95 yesterday, which ended up being the hottest day of the year so far for places like Sacramento. Another hot one, so that's the new one in the books for this year. Then our first triple-digit day, that's definitely going to happen today. The only real question is if we get to 105. If that happens, that's going to be an all-time record for the month of May, at least tie it. And as you can see, that's way ahead of schedule. We typically only see that once we start to move deeper into July. So again, this is the record in the books, the all-time for the month. We're going to be really close to that. Our forecast today is 104. I think it's very possible to get to 105, but we'll put it at 104. And this will be the hottest day since the third week in July of last year. And I had to look this up. 311 days since we have seen something like this. So it's been a long time, and I guarantee when it happens later on, a lot of people will be going through the motions about how hot it is and trying to figure out if it's really affecting you or not. There's two things. They sound the same, but they're not. Heat exhaustion is when the heat is really getting to people. People will become thirsty, dizzy, nauseous, just not looking right and not feeling right. And this can happen to you or someone around you, kids, seniors. These are the early signs, and this is when you take action. Because the second thing, you absolutely have to take action, but you don't want it to be too late. Heat stroke is when it has very serious consequences to your body and to your health. You'll be indicated it, you'll see it with a headache, but the key is that people just stop sweating. In other words, the body's process of cooling down is just not working. And some of the critical ways to understand how a heat wave plays out is that, around here, we're lucky because we have many hours in the morning where it's actually not that bad. This blue area means you're good to go, you can do things. And I would say even after sunset, maybe an hour after sunset, we start to move back into that safe territory. But again, it's during the heat of the day from about noon to sunset when we're dealing with many hours over 90 degrees, and I would say 4 to 5 hours today over 100 degrees. Just highlighting the importance of the morning and the evenings. For example, it's a Friday night, right? We live a little bit more on a Friday night. Maybe you're out doing something, movie, ball game, whatever. 7 p.m., whoa, 100 degrees. 9 p.m., where lately, earlier this week, by 9, we've been in the 70s with a little bit of wind, but that's not the case. We're going to be in the upper 80s. This means your whole house fan is not going to be effective. You literally will have to have air conditioning to cool down your home because everything else just isn't working. In other words, the air outside of your home, if you bring that in, is just still way too warm. 11 o'clock at night, probably still too warm, to be honest with you. 77 degrees outside. So it's these long cool down periods in the evening that really is sort of the textbook problem with the heat wave. Hot days, sure, we get that. Warm overnights. And if we had a lot of humidity, it would be even worse. The good news is that we don't have that much, so we will cool down to the 60s early tomorrow morning, but that's going to take a long time to happen. One extra side note, just a reminder of how the seasons are changing so rapidly. Our first tropical storm of the season in the East Pacific Basin has already formed. It's going to fall apart and be a depression, but it will affect Cabo in the coming days. So lots of things that happen in the middle of summer are happening right now, and the heat is certainly the thing that's top of mind. Heat advisory officially is going to be today through Saturday. And this is a very large one, just so we're clear. This is the entire valley, the Central Valley. This is the coastal range. This is also the lower foothills as well because of, again, hot days and warm overnight temperatures. Now, you'll notice that the wind tonight really plays a critical role in one key thing. So notice how it comes in off the water. It spreads out a little bit. Notice where it's not. This is very important. It is not very windy in the evening. It doesn't really penetrate because it's basically lower in elevation and doesn't rise above into higher spots. Now, Saturday night, it is different, and that's the key indication that we're going to start to see some cooling. Then we get some more on Sunday. And that wind is very important. For example, when you base everything off the risk to people, it's called the heat risk forecast, and it's from the Weather Service. This is something new that they've been using for the last couple of years. So you can see here we've got a moderate heat risk for everybody for hot days and warm overnight temperatures. But when it's much warmer in the overnight, that's where we start to see this. Well, what is going on here? For example, in Sacramento, it will be hotter than Placerville in the afternoon. But overnight, because it takes so long to cool down, there's a lot of people at risk, I would say along the 49 corridor, for a very slow cooling process. Let me give you one more example. Sacramento, as people are waking up early on Saturday morning, they'll be waking up to temperatures in the 60s, versus people in Placerville, Auburn, other spots, they'll be waking up to temperatures in the 70s. So again, the warm overnights really do tend to linger in the foothills and the coastal range spots at higher elevations. By Sunday, everybody's looking so much better, and then we are well and truly on our way. So just to wrap this all up, today and tomorrow, a very early heat wave for this kind of stuff and close to all-time records for the month. On your Friday, still very hot. Take those precautions on Saturday. And then by Sunday, everybody's going to be cooling down to the 80s. That's going to feel so nice. And we linger in the 80s for most of next week.